Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Mohd Fitri from H7 Group. So today I will explain about computer audit and risk management project for our group. So this is our group members, Muhammad Haziq Huzairi, Haresh Anak Laki Gunalan, Muhammad Ilyasa, and me myself, Muhammad Fitri. So this is our project background. H7 Group is a multinational managed service provider, MSP, specialized in cloud integration and secure digital transformation across Asia Pacific. So our company also offer infrastructure as a service, IaaS, and also manage SaaS network, network optimization, and cybersecurity services. H7 Group also operates on a hybrid workforce model with remote teams securely connected via VPN. Okay, this is what we do and what we provide in H7 Group. We have three main comprehensive services. First one is managed cloud and infra. Second one is secure edge and networking. Last one is MS Enterprise. This is our core IT services portfolio. The first one is managed cloud and IaaS. We use hybrid cloud on Azure and AWS, elastic pay-as-you-go server scaling, automated daily backup, and zero upfront hardware investment. Next is network and edge security. We use next-gen edge firewall and DMZ isolation, smart multi-layer traffic caching, anti-DDoS traffic, and strict traffic segregation policies. Last one is Microsoft and MSSP. We use M365, Entra ID, and CRM administration, cross-tenant isolation guarantee, enforce MFA and RBAC, and last one is identity governance and credential protection. This is our audit purpose and measurable objective. We have three measurable objectives, which is the first one is vulnerability remediation mapping. We pinpoint the hidden security weaknesses within the public-facing DMZ, which is web, application, and storage server. Next is remote perimeter verification. We enforce on critic and stress test authentication, encryption, and endpoint configuration governing work from home VPN gateways. Last one is standard alignment. We assess current technical configurations against international best practices and produce a risk treatment register. This is our ISO standard selection justification. We use ISO IEC 27005, which is for the risk management, with ISO IEC 27002, security controls implementation. We justify with these three key. The first one is multinational IT governance, granular operational control, and risk-based optimization. This is our CIA triad, which stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. For the C, which is confidentiality, absolute logical segregation of multi-tenant environment. No tenant can enumerate or leak another's data. For the audit target is access control matrices, encryption keys, privilege workflows. For the I, integrity, all the configurations and backups remain auditable. Prevent cascading supply chain failures across 300 plus clients. For the target audit, we system lock, backup hashing, and change management control. For the last one is A, availability. We immute architecture absorbing DDoS disruption, zero tolerance for downtime, which is contractual SLA commitment, and the audit target is redundant routing, failover, and load balancer. This is our organizational chart from the board of director to CEO and separate it to the lower position, COO, CFO, and CLO, and so on. This is our audit team engagement. We have me myself as a leader or chief audit partner, audit methodology, final reporting, and the rest of the team consists of risk and threat modeling as Muhammad Haziq Huzari, infrastructure and cyber security audit Muhammad Liasa, regulatory compliance and JRC audit Haresh Anak Lelaki Gunalan. This is our roadmap for the 12-week engagement. We have 5 phases. Starts from context and info, followed by technical audit, threat modeling, control mapping, and the last one is final reporting. Okay, for the section A, which is scope of assessment, our objective is to evaluate the CIA of our company infrastructure, services, and assets. We have 5 technical key, consists of internal network infrastructure, perimeter security, DMZ, remote access and endpoint, and also cloud architecture. All of these operational remain within the human resource security, physical facility protection, and governance compliance framework, ISO 27001 PDPA. This is our business objective from the CIA. Our goal for the confidentiality is to protect multi-tenant client data for 300 plus enterprise clients from unauthorized exposure. We control the MFA and also RBAC, cross-tenant isolation, and data encryption. For the integrity, we aim to maintain exact accuracy and reliability of high volume financial, logistic, and cloud transaction. We control crypto hashing, secure IP validation, and strict change management. And the last one is we ensure 24/7 service uptime to strict 99% SLA commitments. We also control redundant network, automated failover, DDoS mitigation, and daily cloud backups. We also list out the risk criteria for all the services. We have 3, which is the first one is DDoS attack on web server. The vulnerability is internet facing DMZ server without enough protection. The likelihood is 4, risk score is 20, and the level is critical. Second is we have SQLI, which is SQL injection. The vulnerability is weak, input validation in web application. The likelihood is also 4, and then the risk score is 20 and the level is also critical. Last one is phishing attack on employees. It is low cybersecurity awareness on vulnerability. The likelihood is 5, the risk score is 20, and the level is critical. We have 4 key assumptions for our company. The first one is perceived exposure. The DMZ server are assumed to be directly exposed to global and all the traffic network. Second is extended perimeter. The work from home model extend has 7 group attack surface. The third assumption is cross-border complexity. Distributed international operation introduce complex regulatory, data sovereignty, and patch management. The last one is baseline assessment. This represents H7 Group's first formal ISO 27005 aligned risk assessment, meaning all findings serve as a completely new baseline. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Aziz. I want to be about section B, risk identification. Risk identification is a foundational phase in the cyber risk management process that systematically uncover, recognize and document the vulnerabilities, threats and assets that affect an organization's security posture. For H7 Group, this phase involves mapping physical software, network, data and physical security resources against potential technical and human threat factors. By detailing how each asset is uniquely classified, which specific internal audit department or business unit maintain custody of it, and the definitive methodology used to track them. The organization established a granular baseline required to analyze risk scenario accurately and implement tailored security control. Physical security resources against potential technical and human threat factors. So this is the hardware asset. So HW01 next generation firewall is security perimeter regulated traffic between internet, internal network and DMZ. So the model is Fortinet FortiGate 200F. The asset owner is Chief Information Cybersecurity CISO and the asset value is 95,000. The serial number is SNFG200F99999. So the MAC address is 00090F, 8B7C and 11. So HW02, hardware 2, central network router, core routing, hardware driving internal traffic, segment and external cloud connection. So the model specification is Cisco ISR 431 router, network operation manager. So the asset owner is network operation manager. So the asset value is 25,000 per unit total. So the serial number is SNCSEORTR0001. So the MAC address is 001C, 0ED2, E4 and 55. So the next one is software asset. So the SW1 is the customer application. So description is bespoke business system and mobile web apps delivered to client base across APAC region, Asian Pacific. So the model specification is React.js and Node.js frameworks. So quantity is multiple environment. So the asset owner in charge, or the person in charge is Chief Information Security Officer CISO, and the capitalized cost is 3,500,000. So the software to multi-tenant database management system. The storage cluster running MySQL and Postgres SQL. Instance housing customer and record all and files across isolated tenants. So the model specification is MySQL Enterprise and Postgres SQL. So the quantity is 4 core cluster and the asset owner, cloud infrastructure manager and the capitalized cost is 950,000. So the network asset, the asset ID is NW01, internet connectivity 1. Description primary dedicated internet link driving client access and development hosting platform. So the model is dedicated fiber lease lines 1 Gbps and quantity 1 primary and 1 backup link. So the asset owner or person in charge is network operation manager and the cost, the asset value is 8,000 per month. So the next one is VPN remote access, encryption bridge, handling incoming remote tunnel from employee under work from home arrangement. So the model is Fortinet integrated SSL VPN gateway. Quantity is 1 core gateway. So the person in charge is network operation manager and the asset value is bundled with HW01. This is the data information asset. So the asset ID is DA01. The SNM is customer information and records. Sensitive identification entries, corporate contract data and profile records of active client across 300 plus enterprise accounts. So the model specification is structured database records, MySQL and Postgres SQL. So the quantity varies by active client account. So the person in charge is managed service directory, managed services director. So the valid asset value is high reputational liability, estimate 5 million. This is a physical security asset. So the first one is the biometric access control system. It's facility door lock barrier regulating physical access into the restricted on-site data center facility room. So the model specification is fingerprint or proximity card reader entry, 1 core system and the person in charge is facility manager. The asset value is 18,000. So the asset number 2 is CCTV surveillance network. So the optical camera arrays monitoring server racks, network corridors and facility perimeter. Model specification Hikvision IP 4K 8 channel system. Quantity is one system setup. So the person in charge is the same as the previous physical security asset is facility manager. So the asset value is 12,500. So the next one we talk about the threats. This is the threats that I took as an example from the report. So the first one is network threat. Network threat. So the first one is volumetric DDoS attack. So the specific threat description: external activists launch large-scale traffic flood to deplete the internet. Perimeter bandwidth taking customer system offline. So the target SNM internet connectivity 1, and the target asset ID is NW01. So the threat ID number 2 for the network is remote gateway brute force automate tracking script run the dictionary guesses against public authentication endpoint to establish remote gateway tunnel. So the target asset name is the VPN remote access gateway and the target asset ID is NW02. This is another example for data information threats. So for the threats ID DDA1 SQL injection extraction. So the specific threat description is cybercriminal exploit fully sanitized web form to inject rogue database query, forcing the system to dump customer records. The target asset name is the customer information DBMS. So the target asset ID is DA01 and SW02. So the number 2, insider intellectual property theft. This truncated developer utilize valid corporate access profile to download and exfiltrate proprietary code-based lines into cloud account. So the target asset name is proprietary software source code. So the target asset ID is DA04. This is another example for physical security threats. So the first one is social engineering tailgating. Unauthorized intruder trick employee into allowing them to tailgate past biometric door entries to access on-site data center racks. So the target asset name is biometric access control system type and the target asset ID PS01. So the PS2, environmental failure, fire or flood. Is a natural disaster or facility failure cause fire, water damage or extreme temperature fluctuation affecting critical infrastructure. So the target SNN server environment control. So the target SID is PS03. So the vulnerability identification in compliance with ISO or IEC 27005. A vulnerability reflects the structural loophole or operational weakness present within system control that remains susceptible to exploit behavior. The audit team has classified 15 vulnerabilities affecting H7 group. So the first vulnerability for hardware is outdated operating system or missing patches. So the category is considered as technical. The description: production server running unpatched software built prone to remote code execution RCE bugs. So the impact asset is web server, application server, storage server. So the action to mitigate it: deploy the automated patch management updates monthly. So the second one is weak hard drive encryption profile. So it's categorized under technical. So description is full disk encryption FDE is disabled on developer laptops, allowing plain text data accession via drive removal. So the impacted asset is employee laptop, work from home. So action to mitigate is enforce BitLocker 5-volt FDE via centralized GPU. So this is the software vulnerabilities. Vulnerability ID V04, post secrets management hardcore credential, considered under category technical. Description is developer safe database credential string and cloud provider API keys in plain text inside local file. So the impact asset is source code repositories and action is to mitigate integrate automated secret scanner. Example is Git Guardian. Another one is lack of web application filtering layer. Consider also under technical. So the description: absence of specialized layer 7 inspection components protecting backend logic block from web injection script. So the impact asset is custom web application. So the action to mitigate it is deploy dedicated web application firewall. Wow. Another one is network vulnerabilities. The first one is lack of restricted network segmentation under category technical too. So the description is absence of proper VLAN separation boundaries between public server in the DMZ and internal employee endpoint. So the impact asset DMZ segment, internal network. So action to mitigate, enforce rigorous network micro segmentation model. So the second one is V09, overly permissive firewall rule configuration. This category under configuration. So the description is firewall access control rules permit non-essential public traffic vector directly into internal local lane. So the impact asset is next generation firewall NGFW. So action to mitigate is rewrite ACL to strict default deny profile. This is another data information vulnerabilities. So the vulnerability name is absence of MFA is fall under category configuration. So description is single factor validation setup on code repository asset and legacy employee network login portal. So the impact asset is VPN gateway and code repositories. Action to mitigate and enforce mandatory MFA checking policy across all access links. So the second one is insufficient security awareness training, categorized under human or process. Staff-led formal training on spotting multi-stage spear phishing lures and deceptive domain link. The impacted asset is all employee user account. So the action to mitigate is launch quarterly phishing assessment routine. The last one is physical security vulnerabilities V017. Vulnerability name is unencrypted local backup storage node. Category under technical. So the description is automated server backup files are committed to local arrays in clear text formats without isolation control. So the impacted asset is storage server backup device. So the action to mitigate it is enforce AES256 backup, encryption and air gap sync. This is the risk scenario. Scenario 1, the MZ storage server ransomware infiltration. So the asset is storage server has HW07 and customer records. The threat is external cyber criminal group TSW1. Outdated. The vulnerability is outdated operating system and missing. The risk scenario is an external cyber criminal group. So another scenario is remote work credential harvesting via phishing. So the assets are administrative login, credential and cloud API key. Threat is targeted phishing, spear phishing campaign. So vulnerability, absence of multi-factor authentication. So the risk scenario is attackers direct a targeted spear phishing email campaign. So the scenario 3 is volumetric DDoS attacks on public web server. The asset is web server HW05 and internet connectivity NW01. So the threat is volumetric DDoS attacks TNW1. So vulnerability is overly permissive firewall rules V09. And this scenario is external activist launch a large-scale traffic flood again. So this is the section C, risk analysis and risk register. The identified cybersecurity risks are analyzed by assessing their likelihood of occurrence and potential impact on H7 Group, a multinational managed service provider MSP, specializing in cloud computing, enterprise network management, and managed security services. The analysis is conducted using the risk assessment criteria established in Section A. Risk scores are calculated based on the combination of likelihood and impact rating, allowing the organization to determine the severity of each identified risk and prioritize appropriate risk management action. So the likelihood scale is score 1 to 5. Description is rare, unlikely, possible, likely, and almost certain. For the impact scale, it's also the same score 1 to 5. So the first one is insignificant, minor, moderate, major, and critical. This is the risk register table. For the R1, storage server DMZ, ransomware infiltration TSW1, outdated OS or missing patches. The risk scenario, ransomware exploit unpatched storage server in DMZ, encrypting multi-tenant customer database, backup repository and operational record causing catastrophic operational downtime and SLA breach. Likelihood is 4 and the impact is 5. So the risk score is 4 times 5 equal to risk score is 20. So the risk level is considered critical one. So the administrative login credential, phishing campaign TDA2, absence of MFA, attackers steal credential through phishing and gain unauthorized access to a repository and cloud system. Likelihood is 4. The impact is 5. So safe 4 times 5 equal to 20 is the risk level is considered as critical. So justification of rating to ensure consistency and transparency in the risk assessment process, each likelihood and impact rating is supported by a justification based on H7 Group operating environment, existing vulnerabilities and threat landscape. The following table provides detailed explanation for the assigned rating and demonstrate the rationale behind the calculated risk score. So the R1 is DMC storage server ransomware infiltration. Likelihood for likely ransomware attacks are widely prevalent globally with MPS. So the impact 5 is catastrophic. The storage server contains multi-tenant customer database. So the R2 is remote work credential harvesting. Likelihood for phishing remain one of the most common. So the impact is 5, compromise administrative credential provide. So this is the risk heat map. So the first one is critical, score range 20 to 25, so the number of it is 5. So risk ID that consider critical is R1, R2, R3, R4, and R8. So the percentage is 33.30%. So high, risk level of high is 12 to 19. So the number of page is 7. So risk ID is R5, R6, R7, R10, R11, R12, R13, R14. So the percentage is 46.70%. So the medium one is 6 to 11. The number of page is 2. The risk ID is R9 and R15. The percentage of 13.30%. So the low is considered 1 to 5. The number of page is 0, none. So the percentage is 0. So a total of 15. The percentage of 100%. I think that's all from me. I will pass it to another person. That's all from me. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. My name is Harujana Kunalan. Today I'll be explaining about section D, which is risk evaluation. So there's four kind of risk level: low, medium, high, and critical. For low, score range is 1 to 5, medium 6 to 11, high is 12 to 19, and critical is 20 to 25. So for low, the treatment requirement is existing controls are sufficient and risk should be monitored, and business impact is minimal impact on operations and customers. For medium level, plan mitigation, and regular monitoring are needed to reduce future risk exposure. And business impact is moderate operational impact with manageable disruption. High level treatment requirement is requires management attention and priority action due to serious business and security risk. The business impact is major disruption affecting system operation and customer services. For critical, requires immediate action and executive level response to reduce or eliminate severe risk. And the impact is may lead to service outages, data loss, financial impact, and legal issues. So this is the risk categorization by domain. So we have R1, R2, and R3. Hardware, data, network. For hardware, the CI is CINA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. For data, we have CNI. And for network, we have A. Risk description for hardware is DMZ, storage, server, ransomware, infiltration. For data, the risk description is remote work credential harvesting via phishing, and for network volumetric DDoS attack on web server. So the risk score is 20 for each, and the risk level is also critical for everything. This is risk comparison against acceptance criteria. It's the same as the previous one, but which is accepted and not accepted. For hardware, is not accepted. Data also not accepted, and network also not accepted. This is a risk summary by category. So the risk category, we have hardware, software, network, data, physical. So total we have 5, and high total is 8, medium total is 2, and there's 0 for low. CIA impact analysis, confidentiality, we have 12 out of 15, integrity, 13 out of 15, availability, 6 out of 15. For percentage, 80% for confidentiality, 86.7% for integrity, 40% for availability. So critical risk R1, R2, R4, and R8. For integrity R1, R4, R8. Availability R1, R3, R5, R8, and R15. So top risk, this is top risk prioritization and justification. So if you see, we have score level 20, which is critical, and the justification is the customer-facing web portal sites exposed in the DMZ without adequate mitigation. A successful assault breaks our contractual 99.999% SLA, invoking severe financial penalties and customer charge. For number two, priority four, remote work credential harvesting via phishing. Level score is also 20, which is critical. The justification is a distributed workforce combined with where varying levels of security awareness makes human error our most exposed attack surface. Stolen admin credential grant attackers key to multi-tenant cloud ecosystem. So next, I jump into section E, which is risk treatment strategy selection. So this is the risk treatment strategy. First, we have risk modification, risk avoidance, risk sharing, and risk retention. For risk modification, applying technical organization, people, or physical controls to reduce the likelihood or impact of a threat to an acceptable level. For avoidance, discontinuing or redesigning a risky process. For risk sharing, shifting a portion of the financial or operational liability to the third party. Retention, making a formal decision to tolerate a known risk because mitigation is not feasible or justifiable or falls within tolerance threshold. This is a risk treatment group. First, we have group one, we have network and edge threats. Second, we have endpoint and malware risk. Third, we have access and data governance. Fourth, we have tenant and data isolation. Fifth, we have physical security. So the original risk level is critical high, medium high, critical high for endpoint, and the status, basically the status is acceptable for everything. So this is the detailed risk critical scores. So DMZ storage server and server filtration. R2 is remote work credential harvesting via phishing. R3 volumetric DDoS attack on web server. R4 SQL injection on application. R8 is VPN credential theft of workforce. So everything, each of these are there's a strategy how they do it. And this is R5 until R11. This is medium risk, which is unauthorized access via credential stuffing, physical facility via breach via social engineering. So this is a table where everything combined: original risk score, original level, residual risk score, and residual level. So for each R, what is the score, the level, and residual level and residual score. So for R1, critical to low with the addition of anti-DDoS scrubbing. R6 to R10 is high to low. And this is the justification transitioning towards strict RBLC. R11 to 14 is high to low. Implementation of an extra ID tenant solution. R15 is medium to low. Physical security controls, including biometrics, access, mantrap, entry system, CCTV surveillance, and security awareness training, reduced to likelihood from to unlikely. So this is group one work and edge threats. R1, R8, R9, and R10. We have attack scenario: ransomware encryption attack, zero-day exploitation, credential theft via ransomware, selected control CRD with ransomware behavior blocking immutable backup, ERD behavior analysis, vulnerability scanning, patch management. And also we have ERD privilege access with MFA. So this is iOS. The specification is prevent ransomware encryption and enables rapid recovery, detect and block unknown threats, prevent credential harvesting. So this is implementation plan. Deploy ERD with ransomware blocking implementation. This is the implementation plan for all these attack scenarios. There's a perimeter bypass via firewall misconfiguration. First attack scenario, we have firewall rule misconfiguration, ACL errors, and router switches vulnerabilities. This is the IIO, this is the selected controls, and this is the implementation plan. So for example, ACL conduct ACL reviews during change management, implement zero trust architecture, use network mapping tool, perform penetration testing, document segmentation designs. So last and not least, H7 Group has implemented a layered defense in-depth security framework based on IES structured around the CIA threat. So confidentiality protected through MFA, role-based access control, privileged access management for admin accounts, data loss prevention tools, and encryptions. Integrity maintained via secure development practices, strict change management with dual sign-offs, cryptography hashing, availability ensured through immutable geographical dispersal backup. And beyond CIA, the framework also covers human and organizational resilience, security awareness, training, phishing, simulation. Overall goal is this multi-layered approach eliminates single point of failure, support ISO risk treatment and IF, and gives H7 Group a scalable, adaptable security posture as the organization grows. That's all from me, sir. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to present the section F, which is ISO or IEC 27002 control mapping. And then I will explain on the group 1. And okay, let's start with the risk 1, which is network edge and threat. We have 3 attack scenario, which is first ransomware encryption attack. And then for the selected control, I use EDR with ransomware behavior blocking, immutable backups, and vulnerability scanning, and then network isolation. And then for the ISO, I use the malware protection, vulnerability management, backup, redundancy, and network security. Justification, it will prevent ransomware encryption and enable rapid recovery. So the implementation plan, which it will deploy the EDR with ransomware blocking, and then implement immutable air gap daily backup, and then conduct weekly vulnerability scan, and isolate storage network, secure cyber insurance, and then conduct monthly restoration tests. For the second one, we got zero day exploitation. So for the selected control, I use EDR behavior analysis, vulnerability scanning, and then patch management. And then for the ISO, I use malware protection, vulnerability management, and then it will detect and block unknown threat. It will deploy the EDR with behavior analysis and implement automated patch management, conduct weekly vulnerability scan, and use threat intelligence feeds to implement the application whitelisting. And then the credential theft via ransomware. So the control is EDR, privilege access management, PAM, and then MFA. And for the ISO, malware protection, privilege access, and access control. So it will prevent the credential harvesting. And then implementation is deploy EDR with credential theft detection, and then implement PAM for administrative account, and then enforce the MFA for all server access, and then monitor privilege account in SIEM. And then implement last privilege access. So for the R6, which is perimeter bypass via firewall misconfiguration, for the first scenario, firewall rule misconfiguration, and then selected control is to change management, rule audit, configuration drift detection, and then PAM. And the ISO is I have simplified it to numbers in the ISO. And then implementation plan. We will enforce change management with dual peer sign off and conduct quarterly rule audits, implement configuration drift detection, and restrict management plane access, implement zero trust segmentation, and maintain configuration backup. For the ACL error, we will select the ACL review and then segmentation validation. And then we will for the implementation, we will conduct the ACL review during change management and then implement zero trust architecture, use the network mapping tools, and then perform penetration testing, and then document segmentation baselines. For the router switch vulnerability, the selected control is patch management and then device hardening. The implementation will automated patch schedule. It will conduct quarterly vulnerability scan and harden device configuration, and it will use secure management protocol to maintain network inventory. So summary of the control implementation. H7 Group has implemented a layer defense in-depth security framework based on ISO and then structure around the CIA triad. So for the confidentiality, we are protected through MFA and a role-based access control, which is this privilege, and then privilege access management for admin accounts, data loss prevention tools, and encryptions. And for data in transit and at rest. For integrity, we maintain a via secure deployment practice, SAS or DAS testing, input validation, parameterize queries, and then strict change management with dual sign-off, cryptographic hashing, digital signatures, and centralized logging through a SIEM platform for real-time monitoring. For availability, we ensure through immutable and geographically dispersed backup with tested recovery objective, and then DDoS mitigation, network redundancy, and then endpoint detection and response, which is EDR, and a zero trust network segmentation and automated patching vulnerability scannings. So beyond the CIA, the framework also covers human and organization resilience, security awareness training, and phishing simulation, incident response to playbook the tested via tabletop exercise, and third-party or vendor risk management. And for the overall goal, this multi-layered approach will eliminate single point of failure and support ISO or IEC risk treatment and ISO IEC certification goals, and give the H7 Group a scalable, adaptable security posture as the organization grows. And then for the section G, which is risk acceptance. So cybersecurity risk cannot be completely eliminated since it has been so vast. And then the residual risk remains due to evolving threat, operational limitation, and business requirements. So under the ISO 27005, all residual risks must be formally evaluated against the organization acceptance criteria to ensure they land within the acceptable, which is green, or tolerable, which is yellow, and the metric zones before the sign off. So the residual risk level is estimated after considering the effectiveness of the implementation control. For each risk, the likelihood and impact have been assessed both before and after the implementation of controls, and using the H7 Group risk matrix, which is the likelihood 1 equals to rare, to 5 which is almost certain, and then 1 impact is 1 is negligible, and then to 5 catastrophic. For the risk matrix legends for the ISO 27005, the green zone is between 0 and 8, which is acceptable, and then the yellow zone is 9 to 14, which is tolerable, and then the orange zone is 15 to 19, which is moderate, and the red zone to 20 to 25, which is critical. And for the risk register, I will explain until R4, risk 4. Risk 1, For the risk scenario, which is DMZ storage server ransomware infiltration, the likelihood is 4, then the impact is 5, the risk score is 20. So the risk level will be critical. So key control, we will ADR, we use EDR, and then immutable backup, vulnerability scanning, and then network isolation, and then cyber insurance. The owner of this risk is system and cloud architectures. So for the R2, which is remote credential harvesting via phishing, the likelihood is 4, the impact is 5, the risk score is 20, which is also critical. And the key control is to email security, and then to the MFA, conditional access, and then phishing simulation, and then also security scanning. The owner of this risk is HR director or IAM lead. For the R3, volumetric DDoS attack on web server. So likelihood 4, impact also 5, and the risk score also 20, which is critical. And then we will, for the key control, we use the DDoS scrubbing and the rate limiting, Anycast DNS, BGP routing, and DDoS trails. The owner is network engineer team. So R4, SQL injection on application server, which is DMZ. And likelihood also 4, impact also 5, risk score also 20, and the risk level also critical. We will implement the WAF, parameterized query, parameterized queries, and then SAS DAS, and then input validation, and then secure coding and training. And the owner is head of application development. So for the risk acceptance justification, I list 2 only. So for the risk one, DMZ storage server ransomware infiltration. So the cost, and then cost versus benefit is control cost. So the amount of the cost is USD 50K per year, and for the EDR and immutable backup, vulnerability scanning, and network isolation, and full elimination would cost around 200K to 300K per year to complete network isolation and manual data access. And current control achieve 85% risk reduction from 20 to 3, and then cost benefit ratio strongly favors current controls. So the business need is storage needs server must remain accessible for client data hosting and application storage, and air gapping all storage server would violate SLA and make the data inaccessible. And current immutable backup strategy enables rapid recovery within 4 hours RTO. Balance between security and business continuity is critical. And operational constraints and governance. Zero-day ransomware variants continuously evolve to bypass the EDR. Storage server is publicly exposed in DMZ, which is will permanent attack surface. And geographic distribution of cloud storage introduce latency and synchronization challenge. And monthly restoration test validate 99% success rate. Quarterly access review by system and cloud architect ensure ongoing effectiveness. For the risk 2, the cost benefit, the control cost is around 35K per year for AI email security, MFA, conditional access, and training. And full elimination would cost around 150K per year for advanced AI detection, dedicated coaches, automated response. And then current control will achieve 85% risk reduction from 20 to 3. And cost benefit ratios strongly favors current control. And business need, the email communication is essential for client engagement and internal collaboration. Overly restrictive policy would hamper productivity and client satisfaction. MFA server as critical compensating control for human error, and the balance between security and operational efficiency is essential. Operational constraint and governance. Human behavior is the most unpredictable variable in cybersecurity. Geographically distributed employees, complicated training delivery. Sophisticated attack can still bypass the training and control. Monthly monitoring simulation will result below 5% click rate to ensure the effectiveness, and the additional control to reconsider if metric degrades. So for the formal risk acceptance statement, in compliance with ISO 27001, which is in clause 6.1.3. H7 Group Executive Management and Designated Risk Owner have reviewed the documented residual risks. By authorizing this statement, management formally approved the orientation of this low residual risk profile, and then this risk will be logged within the corporate risk register and are subjected to mandatory quarterly effectiveness review and reassessed during the annual ISMS audit cycles to account for any changes in the threat landscape. For this one, we will accept as a formal acceptance with justification of 85% reduction, cost effective, and business prohibitive to full elimination. For R2, also formal acceptance with 85% reduction, human error impossible to eliminate because it is cannot be done by human error, and then MFA is very crucial. And then R3 also formal acceptance because for the primary justification it has to be 85% reduction, and then 500 Gbps scrubbing sufficient, taking service offline, business prohibitive. That's all from me, and that's all from us. Thank you.